Okay, so I'm going to try and voice record this, but it's not going to be easy. Once upon a time, I was born. I know, right? Anyway, not long after this, I became aware that my grandfather was dead. My mind instantly went to what he would be like when I met him in heaven. Would he even be there? What would happen if I went to heaven and no one was there waiting for me? Would I be left alone in the clouds for eternity? The thought petrified me, and my brother told me all the facts about why heaven couldn't exist. I was probably 5 at the time. So little me went through all the different proposed ways of afterlife, discounting and being afraid of all of them, until I found one that made sense. And that one scared me shitless. I had my first panic attack at the age of 7, outside a fish and chip shop. Not exactly a great childhood achievement. Every night I was visualising my own demise, and it was getting worse as I was getting older, as I felt like my time was running out. But I didn't tell my parents because I was ashamed. I didn't want to be crazy. I didn't want to be a hassle. They had David to look after anyhow. But I couldn't cope on my own. The panics would completely take over me. I would freeze stiff, go completely cold, think and then explode. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could do was scream. To this day, after all these years, the thing that terrifies me most about my panic attacks is the flashbacks. Just a young girl screaming, and I just want to hold her and tell her it'll be alright. My parents thought I was seriously ill because I was screaming every night. They took me to the hospital, and almost immediately I was referred to a specialist child counsellor. It helped, but it didn't fix things. I couldn't go a week without at least one panic attack. And things would get especially bad on my birthdays. I would be violently ill from fear of growing older. But that's just the beginning of my story. My point is that the death anxiety changed my concept of time and planning events. I was determined that I must do this in order to do that, so then I could do the other, and then I could die happy. I honestly wasn't that bothered about how other people lived. Until I made a friend, who everybody hated, so she relied on me and I relied on her. Only she was a very emotionally abusive friend, but I had no idea until the friendship ended. She would constantly tell me how insignificant I was, and how her life was better, and that I was a horrible friend. She screamed at me once because I was being selfish by not letting her talk about her private jet. I was in the middle of a pretty big panic attack. After one particularly big shouting battle that ended in me missing 2 classes because I couldn't breathe, I realised, wait a minute, this is shit, like utter shit. And I thought back on my life and thought, oh, holy crap, I'm shit. And my mind went to little me and what kind of person she needed. And I'd learned that other people had these things that I had. I thought about smiling and laughing, and a voice came into my head. The 10-year-old version of myself telling somebody that she wanted to be a comedian. My world came tumbling down. What kind of heartless creature had I become? Caring only about my own future and my grades and my plans? I thought of everyone else's lives and how we are all heading on the same path. There are people out there who are upset. There are people out there who are struggling to survive. There are people out there screaming until the sunrise and still having to go to work or school in the morning and pretend everything is okay. And I was like, dude, that's not cool. And it was about that time that I got severe depression and anxiety.